People ask me every year, is the new year a fresh start? And I ask them back, what exactly are you starting fresh if you are carrying the same habits, the same excuses, the same laziness and the same sins? A new year does not renew a broken heart. A new calendar does not fix a neglected soul. If nothing changes inside you, then 12 months will pass and you will be standing in the same place, only older, only more tired, only more regretful. Most people will ignore this warning because it is uncomfortable. But if you are listening right now, then this message is for you. You don't need January to change. You don't need a new calendar, a new week, or a new phase of life. You need honesty, real honesty. Not the polite kind where you admit small faults and hide the big ones. Most people delay change because they are waiting for the right time. But the truth is simpler and harsher. The right time never comes when a person is comfortable lying to themselves. Time does not transform people. Truth does. Many people lie to themselves before they lie to anyone else. They say things like, I'll start soon, or I just need to get through this phase first. But soon is one of the most dangerous words a person can use because it feels responsible while accomplishing nothing. Soon becomes weeks, weeks become years, and years become regret. Others say, I'm not ready yet, without realizing that readiness is not something you wait for. Readiness is something you build through action. No one ever feels fully ready to change their life, control their desires, or face their weaknesses. They become ready by starting despite the discomfort. If you are serious about change, the first thing you must stop doing is pretending. Pretending that you don't know what's wrong. Pretending that your habits aren't hurting you. Pretending that your laziness, distractions, or sins are small and harmless. Deep down, you already know what needs to change. You know which habits are draining your energy. You know which actions are pulling you away from Allah. You know which responsibilities you keep postponing. The problem is not ignorance, the problem is avoidance. Truth requires courage. It requires you to sit alone and ask yourself uncomfortable questions without defending yourself. Why do I keep repeating the same mistakes? Why do I say I want change but resist discipline? Why do I blame circumstances, people, or bad luck instead of looking at my own choices? These questions are painful, but they are necessary. Until you face the truth about yourself, every promise you make will be weak because it is built on denial. Allah does not ask you to be perfect. Perfection is not the standard. Sincerity is. Allah asks you to be truthful with Him and with yourself. When you admit your weaknesses honestly, you open the door to growth. When you admit your sins without justifying them, you open the door to repentance. When you admit your laziness instead of calling it burnout or bad timing, you open the door to discipline. Truth is not meant to shame you, it is meant to free you. Many people fear truth because they think it will break them. In reality, lies are what slowly destroy a person. A lie allows you to stay stuck while convincing yourself that you are progressing. Truth, on the other hand, may hurt at first, but it gives you clarity, and clarity gives you direction. Once you clearly see what is broken, you can begin to fix it. Without clarity, you wander in circles while calling it patience. Being truthful also means accepting responsibility. It means stopping the habit of saying, this is just how I am, as if your character is fixed and unchangeable. That statement is not humility, it is surrender to weakness. Islam teaches growth, accountability, and effort. You are not defined by your past mistakes, but you are responsible for your present choices. When you accept responsibility, you regain control. When you avoid responsibility, you hand your life over to excuses. Another hard truth many people avoid is that change feels uncomfortable because it threatens the ego. The ego wants comfort, validation, and ease. Truth challenges the ego. It tells you that you have wasted time, that you could have done better, that you have ignored guidance you already knew. This is why many people prefer motivational talk that makes them feel good rather than honest reminders that demand action. But feeling good without changing does nothing. Growth begins when you are willing to feel uncomfortable for the sake of becoming better. Truth also exposes priorities. People often say Allah is important to them, but their schedules tell a different story. They say family matters, but their actions show neglect. They say they want peace, but they feed their minds with constant noise and distraction. When you are honest, you stop judging your intentions and start judging your actions. What you repeatedly do is what you truly value, regardless of what you claim. When you stop making excuses and start making decisions, everything changes. A decision is not a wish, it is not a hope. A decision means you accept the consequences of your choice and move forward anyway. It means you stop negotiating with your weaknesses and start leading yourself with discipline. One honest decision made sincerely is more powerful than 100 emotional promises. Real change begins the moment you say, this is where I am, this is what I've done, and this is what I must change, without blaming anyone else. That moment may feel heavy, but it is also the moment Allah's help draws near, because Allah helps those who are honest enough to take responsibility and brave enough to move forward. If this year is going to be different, it will not be because time passed. It will be because you finally told yourself the truth and acted on it. Many people misunderstand what it means to rely on Allah. They think reliance means waiting for motivation, waiting for ease, waiting for some internal feeling that suddenly makes discipline effortless. This misunderstanding keeps people stuck for years. They make dua, they hope for change, they talk about intentions, but their actions remain exactly the same. Then they wonder why nothing changes. The truth is clear and uncomfortable. Allah does not change a person who refuses to move. Allah's help is real, but it is not magical laziness. Tawakkul is not sitting still and hoping your life fixes itself. Tawakkul is tying your camel and then trusting Allah with the outcome. If you want Allah to change your situation, you must first change your direction. If you want Allah to remove something harmful from your life, you must first be willing to let go of it. Divine help meets effort, not excuses. Many people say, I'm waiting for Allah to guide me, while ignoring the guidance that is already in front of them. The Quran is clear, the obligations are clear. The difference between right and wrong is clear. What is missing is not guidance but courage. Courage to act on what you already know. Courage to wake up earlier. Courage to leave what you know is sinful. Courage to be consistent even when no one sees you. Guidance does not descend on people who refuse to take the first step. One of the biggest traps people fall into is spiritual procrastination. They tell themselves they will become better Muslims later, when life is calmer, when work slows down, when problems are solved. But life does not slow down for anyone. Responsibilities increase, tests multiply, time moves faster. Waiting for a perfect moment to obey Allah is like waiting for the ocean to become calm before learning how to swim. The moment never comes and eventually you drown. Allah has given you the ability to move. You can choose to stand up for Fajr even when your body wants sleep. You can choose to turn away from what displeases Allah even when desire is strong. You can choose to open the Quran even when your heart feels dry. These small movements matter. They are signals of sincerity. When Allah sees you struggling toward Him, even slowly, He strengthens you in ways you cannot see at first. Many people want change without sacrifice. They want peace without discipline. They want forgiveness without repentance. They want blessings without responsibility, but growth has a price. Every meaningful change costs comfort, it costs habits, it costs excuses. If you are not willing to give something up, you are not serious about moving forward. Allah replaces what you leave for His sake with something better, but you must leave first. Another hard truth is that Allah does not force goodness on people who resist it. He does not drag you toward righteousness against your will. He opens doors, sends reminders, gives chances. What you do with those chances is your responsibility. If you repeatedly ignore reminders, your heart hardens. Not because Allah is unfair, but because you chose distance over closeness. Movement toward Allah softens the heart. Stillness hardens it. Movement does not mean perfection. It means direction. A person who stumbles forward is better than a person who stands still pretending to be cautious. If you fall, you repent and continue. If you fail, you adjust and continue. What matters is that you keep moving. Shaytan is far more afraid of consistent effort than dramatic intentions. He knows that steady obedience destroys his influence over time. Some people wait for Allah to remove their weaknesses before they obey Him, but obedience is what weakens those weaknesses. You don't stop sinning because your desire disappears. Your desire weakens because you stop feeding it. You don't gain discipline before acting. Discipline is built by acting repeatedly. Action comes first, strength follows. Look at your own life honestly. Where have you been waiting instead of moving? Where have you been making dua but refusing effort? Where have you been asking Allah for change while protecting the habits that keep you stuck? These are uncomfortable questions, but they are necessary. Allah's mercy is vast, but it is not an excuse for laziness. His forgiveness is open, but it requires sincerity. Movement can be small. It does not need to be dramatic. One prayer guarded properly, one habit reduced, one boundary set, one sincere repentance made and protected. These steps may feel insignificant, but they signal seriousness, and seriousness invites divine assistance. Allah multiplies sincere effort even when it looks small to you. When you move toward Allah, He moves toward you faster than you expect. When you take one step, He opens paths you never planned for. But if you remain still, blaming fear, fatigue, or timing, nothing changes. Time will pass anyway. The question is whether you moved with it or stayed behind. If you want this year to be different, stop waiting for a feeling. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop waiting for life to become easy. Move now, even imperfectly. Allah does not change people who make excuses. He changes people who take responsibility, struggle sincerely, and keep walking toward Him no matter how slow it feels. Many people confuse motivation with sincerity. They think that if they do not feel inspired, energized, or emotionally ready, then something is wrong, so they wait. They wait for the right mood, the right feeling, the right moment, and while they wait, days pass, habits harden, and opportunities disappear. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. Discipline is what remains when motivation abandons you. If you rely on motivation to change your life, you will fail repeatedly. Motivation is emotional. It rises when you hear a powerful talk, watch an inspiring video, or feel a temporary surge of hope. But emotions are unstable. They fade under pressure, fatigue, stress, and boredom. Discipline does not depend on emotion. Discipline is a decision you honor even when you feel nothing. There will be days when you do not feel like praying, days when your heart feels heavy, your mind is distracted, and your body is tired. If you only worship Allah when it feels good, your connection with Him will be weak and inconsistent. The believer is not defined by emotional highs, but by obedience during emotional lows. Discipline keeps you standing when your feelings collapse. Many people say, my imaan feels low, as if imaan is something that falls from the sky. Imaan is strengthened through action. When you pray, even when you feel empty, imaan grows. When you resist temptation, even when desire is strong, imaan grows. When you keep showing up despite weakness, imaan grows. Discipline builds faith. Faith does not wait for comfort. The same applies to self-improvement. People want to fix their lives with inspiration alone. They watch reminders, save quotes, make plans, and talk about goals. But nothing changes because they avoid the daily effort that discipline demands. Discipline is waking up when you want to sleep. Discipline is stopping when you want to continue. Discipline is saying no when it would be easier to say yes. Discipline is uncomfortable by design. That discomfort is what reshapes you. One of the greatest misunderstandings is thinking discipline is harsh or cruel. Discipline is mercy. It protects you from future regret. It protects your time, your health, your faith, and your character. Without discipline, your life becomes controlled by impulses. You eat when you feel like it. You sleep when you feel like it. You speak when you feel like it. You sin when you feel like it. That is not freedom. That is slavery to desire. Islam teaches self-control, not self-indulgence. The nafs will always ask for ease. It will always negotiate. It will always promise you tomorrow. Discipline is how you lead your nafs instead of being dragged by it. When you train yourself to obey Allah consistently, even in small things, you strengthen your ability to resist bigger temptations later. Many people quit because they expect discipline to feel rewarding immediately. It rarely does. At first, discipline feels heavy, it feels restrictive, it feels lonely. But over time, discipline creates stability. Stability creates confidence. Confidence creates peace. What once felt difficult becomes normal. What once felt impossible becomes routine. This is how transformation actually happens. You do not rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the level of your habits. Good intentions without disciplined habits lead nowhere. Bad habits with strong discipline will still control you. This is why changing your habits is more important than making promises. Discipline is built through repetition, not inspiration. Another truth many avoid is that discipline requires structure. You cannot rely on willpower alone. Willpower gets exhausted. Structure supports discipline. Fixed prayer times, consistent routines, clear boundaries, limited distractions. When your environment supports obedience, discipline becomes easier. When your environment is chaotic, discipline feels impossible. This is not weakness, it is wisdom. Discipline also requires patience. You will not see results immediately. Shaytan will whisper that your effort is useless. He will tell you that you are not changing fast enough, that others are ahead of you, that you might as well give up. Discipline ignores these whispers and continues anyway. Consistency over time always wins, even when progress feels invisible. Look honestly at your own life. Where do you depend on motivation instead of discipline? Where do you wait to feel ready instead of doing what needs to be done? Where do you excuse inconsistency by calling it burnout, mood, or circumstances? These excuses feel comforting, but they delay growth. Discipline is uncomfortable, but it is honest. Understand this clearly. Allah rewards effort, not feelings. You are not accountable for how inspired you feel. You are accountable for what you do. A prayer prayed without emotion is still obedience. A good deed done without excitement is still obedience. Obedience done consistently reshapes the heart over time. Discipline does not mean you never struggle. It means you struggle forward. It means you do not quit because you feel tired, bored, or uninspired. It means you keep your commitments even when no one is watching. This quiet consistency is what Allah loves. This is what builds character. This is what protects you when life becomes difficult. If you want this year to be different, stop chasing motivation, build discipline, decide what must be done, and do it whether you feel like it or not. Motivation will return later, strengthened by your consistency, but discipline must come first. In the end, discipline is not about being harsh with yourself. It is about being serious with yourself, serious about your time, serious about your faith, serious about the direction of your life. Motivation may start the journey, but only discipline will carry you to the end. Many people underestimate the power of their environment. They focus on intentions, goals, and motivation, but ignore what surrounds them every single day. This is a serious mistake. You do not live in isolation. Your thoughts, your habits, and even your level of faith are constantly being shaped by what you see, hear, and consume. If your environment is unhealthy, it will quietly undo all your good intentions. You might say, I'm strong enough, I can handle it. But strength is not proven by constant exposure to temptation. Strength is proven by wisdom, and wisdom knows when to limit exposure. No one walks through smoke daily and expects their clothes to stay clean. In the same way, you cannot surround yourself with distractions, negativity, and sin, and then be surprised when your heart feels heavy and your discipline feels weak. Your environment includes more than people. It includes your phone, your social media, your entertainment, your routine, your conversations, and even your silence. What you scroll through before bed, what you listen to in the morning, what fills your idle moments, all of it leaves an imprint. If your mind is constantly flooded with noise, comparison, and useless content, your focus will suffer, your peace will suffer, your connection with Allah will suffer. Many people say they want change, but they refuse to change their environment. They want to pray more, but they sleep late because of endless screen time. They want discipline, but they keep their days unstructured. They want purity, but they expose themselves to things that inflame desire. This is not weakness alone, it is contradiction. You cannot move forward while protecting what pulls you backward. The people around you matter more than you think. Conversations shape values, attitudes spread silently. If you are constantly surrounded by people who complain, mock effort, normalize sin, or treat religion lightly, it will slowly influence you even if you think you are unaffected. This does not mean you look down on others, it means you protect yourself. There is a difference between being kind and being careless with your heart. Look honestly at your close circle. Do they remind you of Allah or distract you from Him? Do they encourage discipline or excuse laziness? Do they push you to improve or keep you comfortable where you are? You do not need many people, you need the right people. And sometimes you need distance more than company. Your physical environment also matters. A messy space creates a messy mind. A chaotic routine creates scattered thinking. When your surroundings lack order, discipline becomes harder. Islam values cleanliness, structure, and intentional living for a reason. Order on the outside supports order on the inside. This is not about perfection, it is about reducing friction. Make it easier to do good and harder to do wrong. One of the biggest dangers of a bad environment is that it normalizes what should never be normal. Over time, things that once felt wrong begin to feel acceptable. Neglect becomes routine. Distraction becomes lifestyle. Sin becomes casual. This gradual shift is dangerous because it does not feel dramatic. You do not wake up one day far from Allah. You drift there slowly by allowing an environment that pulls you away without resistance. Changing your environment does not require dramatic actions, but it does require honesty and courage. You may need to unfollow accounts that poison your focus. You may need to limit conversations that drain your energy. You may need to restructure your day so prayer has priority, not leftovers. You may need to choose solitude over constant socializing. These changes feel uncomfortable at first because they remove familiar noise, but silence is where clarity returns. Some people fear changing their environment because they worry about loneliness. But loneliness that protects your faith is better than company that destroys it. Being alone is not the same as being lost. Often Allah gives you space so you can hear your own conscience again. That quiet is not emptiness, it is opportunity. Your environment should support who you are trying to become, not who you used to be. If everything around you reflects your old habits, your old weaknesses, and your old distractions, then your future will look exactly like your past. Growth requires separation, not arrogance, not hatred. Separation for the sake of healing and focus. Ask yourself honestly, does my environment make obedience easier or harder? Does it help me remember Allah or forget Him? Does it support discipline or feed delay? The answer to these questions explains more about your current state than any motivational speech ever could. If you want real change, stop fighting yourself while defending the environment that weakens you. Adjust what surrounds you, and you will be surprised how much lighter obedience feels. Your environment will not change your intentions, but it will either support them or silently destroy them. Choose wisely, because what you allow around you eventually shapes who you become. Most people want to change themselves without changing what surrounds them. This is one of the biggest reasons change never lasts. You can make sincere intentions, you can listen to reminders, you can even feel emotional in moments of reflection, but if your environment remains the same, it will quietly pull you back to who you were. Your environment is not neutral. It is either pushing you forward or dragging you backward, whether you notice it or not. Allah created human beings to be influenced. That is not a weakness, it is part of our nature. What you see repeatedly becomes familiar. What you hear constantly begins to sound normal. What you are exposed to daily slowly shapes your thoughts, your desires, and your behavior. This is why protecting your environment is not optional. If you are serious about growth, it is essential. Many people overestimate their willpower and underestimate their surroundings. They say, I know it's wrong, but I won't be affected. This is self-deception. If knowledge alone was enough, no one would struggle. You do not become strong by constantly standing in temptation. You become strong by reducing unnecessary battles. Even the strongest believer avoids what weakens the heart. Wisdom is not testing yourself. Wisdom is protecting yourself. Your environment begins with what you consume mentally. Your phone is one of the most powerful influences in your life. What you scroll through when you wake up, what you watch when you are tired, what fills your mind in moments of boredom, all of it leaves traces. If your mind is constantly filled with distraction, comparison, arguments, and useless content, don't be surprised when your focus disappears and your discipline collapses. You cannot fill your mind with noise and expect clarity. Entertainment shapes the soul more than people admit. What you repeatedly laugh at, admire, or normalize eventually affects your standards. Over time, things that once bothered your conscience stop bothering you. This is not because they became acceptable, but because your sensitivity weakened. A polluted environment does not attack you suddenly. It numbs you slowly. People often say, I don't feel close to Allah anymore, while surrounding themselves with things that push Allah out of their daily awareness. They rush through prayer because their day was filled with distractions. They struggle to focus in worship because their mind is overstimulated. This is not a mystery. The heart reflects what you feed it. If you starve it of remembrance and flood it with noise, it will become restless. Your social environment is just as powerful. The people you spend time with influence your language, your priorities, and your tolerance for sin. This does not mean everyone around you must be perfect. But if your closest companions constantly excuse laziness, mock effort, or normalize disobedience, that mindset will affect you. You will begin to justify what you once wanted to change. Slowly, standard drop. Islam teaches us to choose company wisely because hearts borrow strength from each other. Good company reminds you of Allah without preaching. Bad company distracts you from Allah without forcing. The danger is subtle. You laugh together, you talk, you pass time, and slowly your urgency for change fades, not because you decided to give up, but because your environment made comfort feel acceptable. Your physical space matters more than you think. Disorder outside creates disorder inside. When your surroundings are chaotic, your mind struggles to settle. Discipline becomes harder because everything feels scattered. Islam emphasizes cleanliness and order because they support clarity, focus, and self-respect. This is not about luxury. It is about intentional living. A clean space, a structured routine, and a sense of order reduce mental resistance to doing what is right. Another hidden danger of a harmful environment is normalization. When everyone around you wastes time, wasting time feels normal. When neglect becomes common, neglect feels acceptable. When disobedience is casual, conscience weakens. This is how people drift far from Allah without ever making a conscious decision to do so. They don't fall off a cliff. They slowly slide down a slope. Changing your environment often requires courage because it involves loss. You may need to reduce social interactions. You may need to step back from certain platforms. You may need to say no more often. You may need to spend more time alone. This feels uncomfortable at first because silence exposes you to yourself. But that silence is where awareness returns. That is where sincerity grows. Some people fear changing their environment because they think it will make them lonely. But loneliness that protects your faith is not loneliness, it is safety. Being alone with Allah is better than being surrounded by distractions that empty your heart. Not every season of life requires crowds. Some seasons require focus, healing, and rebuilding. Your environment should support the version of yourself you are trying to become. If everything around you reflects your old habits, your old distractions, and your old weaknesses, then change will feel like constant resistance. Make obedience easier, make disobedience harder. This is not hypocrisy, this is wisdom. Ask yourself honestly, does my environment help me remember Allah or forget Him? Does it support discipline or delay? Does it push me toward growth or keep me comfortable in stagnation? The answer to these questions explains why you are where you are. If you want lasting change, stop fighting yourself while defending an environment that weakens you. Adjust what surrounds you, and you will find that discipline becomes lighter, focus becomes clearer, and obedience becomes more natural. Your environment will either help you grow or quietly destroy your efforts. Choose carefully, because over time, it will shape who you become. Many people fear being alone more than they fear being misguided. They fear silence. They fear distance from people. They fear moments where there is no noise to distract them from their own thoughts. So they stay busy, connected, surrounded, even when that environment is slowly draining their faith and clarity. But being alone is not a punishment. In many cases, it is a mercy. Not all loneliness is the same. There is loneliness that breaks you, and there is solitude that rebuilds you. The difference lies in purpose. When you are alone without direction, your thoughts can consume you. But when you are alone with intention, reflection, and remembrance of Allah, solitude becomes strength. Many of the strongest believers were shaped in quiet moments, away from crowds, away from applause, away from distraction. We live in a time where constant connection is mistaken for emotional health. People talk all day, scroll all night, and yet feel emptier than ever. Why? Because noise does not heal the heart. Distraction does not bring peace. Only Allah brings peace, and often Allah removes people and distractions from your life so you can finally hear your own conscience again. Some people feel abandoned when relationships fade or when social circles shrink. They ask, why am I alone? But they do not ask, what is Allah protecting me from? Not every separation is a loss. Sometimes it is a rescue. Allah may remove certain people from your life because their presence was keeping you distracted, comfortable, or spiritually asleep. Distance is not always rejection, sometimes it is redirection. Being alone forces honesty. When no one is watching, no one is praising, no one is distracting, you see yourself clearly. Your intentions become exposed, your habits become obvious. Your weaknesses become impossible to ignore. This can feel uncomfortable, even painful, but this discomfort is necessary for growth. You cannot fix what you refuse to face. Solitude teaches self-leadership. When you are alone, you can no longer rely on external pressure to do what is right. There is no audience, no validation, no comparison. Obedience becomes sincere or it disappears. This is where character is built. A person who obeys Allah in private is far stronger than a person who performs righteousness only when seen. Many people complain that they feel distant from Allah, yet they never sit quietly with Him. They fill every empty moment with sound, entertainment, and conversation. The heart needs silence to soften. Dua needs stillness to become sincere. Reflection needs space to deepen. When your life is full of noise, Allah's reminders feel faint. Silence brings them back into focus. Being alone also breaks unhealthy dependence on people. When you rely too much on others for happiness, approval, or direction, you become emotionally weak. Islam teaches balance. Love people, but do not attach your heart to them more than Allah. When Allah gives you seasons of solitude, He is teaching you to stand on your own spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. Some people stay in harmful environments because they are afraid of being alone. They tolerate bad company, sinful settings, and constant distraction because solitude feels frightening. But company that pulls you away from Allah is far more dangerous than being alone. Loneliness with faith is lighter than crowds without purpose. Solitude is also where discipline grows. Without constant social interruptions, you become aware of how you spend your time. You begin to see your excuses clearly. You realize how often you delay prayer, waste hours, or avoid responsibility. This awareness is uncomfortable, but it is powerful. It allows you to rebuild your routine around what truly matters. Being alone does not mean isolating yourself from the world forever. Islam does not teach abandonment of society. It teaches balance. Periods of solitude strengthen you so that when you return to people, you return with clarity, boundaries, and purpose. A person who has not learned to be alone will struggle to remain upright in crowds. Many people associate solitude with sadness because they confuse it with rejection. But solitude chosen for growth is not rejection, it is preparation. Allah prepares His servants before elevating them. That preparation often happens in quiet spaces, unseen effort, and private struggle. What looks like isolation may actually be training. If Allah has placed you in a season where you feel alone, do not rush to escape it. Ask instead what this season is meant to teach you. Are you being taught patience, focus, discipline, sincerity, dependence on Allah alone? These lessons cannot be learned in noise. Use your solitude wisely. Strengthen your connection with Allah. Reflect on your direction. Repair your habits. Build discipline in private. When you do this, being alone will no longer feel empty. It will feel purposeful. Remember this, crowds do not make you strong and solitude does not make you weak. What strengthens you is closeness to Allah. If being alone brings you closer to Him, then it is not a curse. It is one of the greatest gifts you can be given. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they want to change is aiming too high, too fast. They make dramatic promises to themselves. They plan massive transformations. They say, from now on, everything will be different. And for a few days, sometimes even a few weeks, they feel strong. Then life interrupts, fatigue appears, discipline weakens. And slowly, everything collapses back to where it was. Not because they are incapable, but because they built their change on intensity instead of consistency. Islam does not teach sudden perfection. It teaches steady progress. Allah does not demand that you transform your entire life overnight. He asks you to walk toward Him step by step. The problem is that many people underestimate small actions because they do not feel impressive. They want visible change, instant results, and dramatic proof that they are improving. But real change is quiet. It is repetitive. It is often boring. And that is exactly why it works. Big intentions feel good because they flatter the ego. They make you feel serious without requiring effort yet. You feel productive just by planning. But intentions alone do not reshape character. Actions do. And actions only work when they are repeated. A single powerful decision does nothing if it is not supported by daily behavior. One prayer prayed sincerely every day is stronger than 10 prayed once with emotion and then abandoned. Many people fail because they overwhelm themselves. They try to fix everything at once. They change their routine completely, set unrealistic goals, and expect themselves to maintain it through sheer willpower. When they eventually slip, they feel like failures and quit entirely. This cycle repeats year after year. What they needed was not more ambition, but more wisdom. Consistency protects you from burnout. Small actions are easier to repeat. They fit into real life. They survive bad days. When you aim for what is sustainable instead of what is impressive, you build momentum. Momentum is powerful because it does not rely on mood. It carries you forward even when motivation disappears. Allah loves consistency because consistency reflects sincerity. Anyone can do a good deed once. Anyone can feel emotional for a moment. But returning to obedience day after day, especially when it feels ordinary, shows commitment. It shows that you are not performing for feelings or recognition. You are building a relationship with Allah based on reliability. Think about how habits are formed. No one ruins their life in one day. They ruin it through repeated small neglects, skipped prayers that become normal, small sins that become casual, wasted minutes that become wasted years. In the same way, no one rebuilds their life in one day. They rebuild it through repeated small obediences, guarded prayers, controlled speech, reduced distractions, honest repentance. These small actions compound over time. Shaytan loves to trick people into extremes. He tells them, if you can't do it perfectly, don't do it at all. This is one of his most effective lies. A small, consistent action terrifies him more than a big emotional intention, because he knows consistency changes direction, it reshapes identity, it turns effort into habit. Many people quit because they don't see immediate results. They pray more for a week and expect peace instantly. They reduce a bad habit for a few days and expect clarity. When results don't appear, they assume nothing is working. But change often happens beneath the surface first. Roots grow before fruit appears. Discipline strengthens before ease arrives. If you quit early, you interrupt the process before it has time to bear results. Consistency also builds self-trust. When you keep small promises to yourself, you begin to believe in your own reliability. This strengthens confidence. Confidence strengthens discipline. Discipline strengthens faith. Everything builds on everything else, but it all starts with small actions that you actually keep. Do not compare your beginning to someone else's middle. Many people look at others who are disciplined, focused, and consistent and feel discouraged. They forget that those people also started small. No one wakes up suddenly strong. Strength is trained through repetition. What matters is not how fast you change, but whether you continue. Small actions also protect sincerity. When your efforts are simple and private, they are less likely to be polluted by ego. No one sees them, no one praises them, yet Allah sees them. And what Allah sees and accepts is far more valuable than what people admire. Ask yourself honestly, what small action can I commit to every day without excuses? Not 10 changes, not dramatic plans. 1 or 2 small actions that you can protect even on your worst days. That is where transformation begins. That is how lives are rebuilt. Remember, a year filled with small, consistent actions will always outperform a year filled with big intentions and broken promises. Do not underestimate steady effort. It is slow, quiet, and powerful. And with Allah's permission, it is how lasting change is made. Many people avoid effort because it feels heavy in the moment. Waking up early feels heavy. Controlling the tongue feels heavy. Leaving a bad habit feels heavy. Staying consistent when no one is watching feels heavy, so they delay. They choose ease today and tell themselves they will deal with consequences later. What they don't realize is that effort is temporary, but regret is permanent. Effort demands energy, but regret drains the soul. Effort tires the body, but regret poisons the heart. The pain of discipline ends when the action is done. The pain of regret returns every time you remember what you should have done and didn't. And unlike effort, regret offers no reward. It only asks, why didn't you act when you had the chance? Most regret does not come from failure. It comes from neglect. People rarely regret trying and falling short. They regret not trying at all. They regret the prayers they delayed until they became habits of delay. They regret the opportunities they ignored because they felt uncomfortable. They regret the years they wasted waiting for motivation, confidence, or permission that never came. Regret grows quietly. It does not scream at you when you are young and capable. It waits. It builds as time passes. At first, it feels distant. You think you have time. You think you can fix things later. But later arrives faster than you expect. One day you look back and realize that what you called later has already passed. People often underestimate how fast life moves. Days feel long, but years feel short. You blink and a year is gone. You blink again and a decade disappears. Regret usually arrives with a simple realization: nothing stopped you except yourself. That realization is heavy because it removes excuses. You cannot blame circumstances anymore. You cannot blame people. You face the truth that you had choices and you didn't use them. Shaytan makes effort look bigger than it is and regret look smaller than it will become. He tells you effort is unbearable, discipline is too hard, and change is too demanding. He hides the future cost of staying the same, but regret does not negotiate. It does not care how tired you were. It does not care how busy you felt. It only reminds you that you had chances you wasted. Many people say, I don't want to push myself too hard, but they forget that life will push them harder if they don't. Discipline is chosen discomfort. Regret is forced discomfort. One strengthens you. The other weakens you. One builds your future. The other haunts your past. Think about the regrets people carry later in life. Rarely are they about effort. People do not say, I regret praying consistently, or I regret controlling myself, or I regret working on my character. They say, I regret wasting time. I regret neglecting my faith. I regret not changing when I knew better. These regrets are heavy because they come with awareness but no ability to go back. Effort, on the other hand, gives immediate dignity. Even when it is difficult, it gives you self-respect. You know you tried. You know you acted. You know you honored your responsibilities. That inner peace is priceless. Effort may exhaust you, but it never humiliates you. Regret always does. Allah has given you this moment as proof of mercy. As long as you are breathing, regret can still be prevented. But prevention requires action now, not emotion. Now is when effort matters, not next week. Not when things calm down. Now, while the choice still exists. Ask yourself honestly, what effort am I avoiding today that will become regret tomorrow? Is it prayer, discipline, repentance, ending a harmful habit, starting a necessary responsibility? Whatever it is, the effort you fear is far lighter than the regret you are preparing. The people who grow are not the ones who suffer less. They are the ones who choose their suffering wisely. They choose the pain of discipline over the pain of regret. They choose effort today so they don't carry shame tomorrow. Do not let another year add weight to your heart. Time does not wait for readiness. It moves regardless of your excuses. If you act now, effort will shape you. If you delay, regret will shape you instead. And understand this clearly. On the day you stand before Allah, you will not regret effort. You will regret every moment you knew better and chose comfort instead. So choose effort now. Its weight is temporary. Regret's weight lasts far longer than you can imagine. Let me leave you with this. Time will move forward whether you change or not. The new year will not ask you for permission, and it will not slow down for your excuses. Days will pass, opportunities will come and go, and you will be held accountable not for what you planned, but for what you did. Do not deceive yourself by thinking you have endless chances. Every day you delay is a day you will never get back. Allah has given you awareness, reminders, and the ability to act. That itself is mercy. But mercy is not meant to be wasted. It is meant to be responded to. If you truly want this year to be different, stop waiting for motivation, stop blaming circumstances, and stop hoping change will happen on its own. Take responsibility, move even if it feels difficult. Be disciplined even when no one is watching. Protect your environment, use solitude wisely, stay consistent even in small actions. Choose effort now so you don't carry regret later. A new year does not change you. Truth changes you, action changes you, sincerity changes you. If you enter this year with the same habits, the same excuses, and the same delays, you will leave it the same person, only with more regret. But if you enter it with honesty, discipline, and a sincere turn toward Allah, then even small steps will transform your life. This is your warning and your opportunity. Do not waste another year hoping. Begin now. Turn to Allah sincerely. Take the first step and keep moving. Because in the end, it will not be time that judges you. It will be how you used it.